Hello and welcome to Straight Talk, Supply Chain Insights, the podcast for your supply chain leader who is on the go and wants to be in the know. And now, your host, Lora.
Welcome to Straight Talk with Supply Chain Insights. This is the podcast that's designed for the supply chain leader that wants to be in the know. Today I'm interviewing Meredith Singletary, and Meredith is the Senior Director of Human Resources at DHL. And DHL has made some recent announcements about improving the work-life balance for women. So today I wanted to interview Meredith and get some of the insight about what they're doing. Meredith, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Laura. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, well, it's always exciting to talk about diversity and how we move forward. So Meredith, just to get started, tell the group a little bit about yourself and a little bit about DHL.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Meredith Singletary. I've got responsibility for HR in the southwest region of the United States. So I live and work in Houston, Texas, but have HR responsibility for Texas and some of the surrounding areas. And then in just the last couple of years, I've also had the opportunity to take on diversity and inclusion work for all of North America, which I think is why I'm here getting the opportunity to talk to you today. And I work for DHL, which is the market leader for contract logistics and warehousing and distribution. So, we've got about 36,000 associates working across the U.S. and Canada, across a lot of different industry verticals. We've got automotive and consumer, retail, technology, life sciences, healthcare, et cetera. So we do a lot of different kinds of things. But I'm happy to get to be here to chat with you today.
Well, thank you for doing that. Now, Meredith, I do some talent work and research, and the last research study I did about women in supply chain came back that about 35% of the supply chain working directors, managers are female. The balance are male, and most are Caucasian. And what I'm trying to do is really drive diversity in the supply chain. Can you give me a feel for, kind of the population at DHL? What kind of jobs are women doing? Give me some color.
Yeah, so we also are kind of in that general ballpark. We've actually recently put out a goal for us to try to get to 30% of our leadership to be female. So that is an area that we're working on. Sort of depending on the day, we're probably in the 25 to 26% of women currently, but we are, working towards getting to that. And we do see women in a variety of roles. Certainly we have women in our hourly workforce that drive forklifts and help pick and pack some of our products. We also have a lot of supervisors. We actually have a pretty big focus on trying to bring supervisors in through our college recruiting programs. And then, as we bring in those supervisors, help to work to grow and develop them into leaders and into more of our managers, directors, vice presidents, et cetera.
So Meredith, why is diversity important to DHL?
Well, so as the leader for diversity and inclusion for North America, I can tell you that it is truly something that we believe in as a core business enabler. We recognize that in our industry, it is typically more male dominated. And as a leader in supply chain, we really have been working to strengthen that leadership position here. It's something I actually had a great conversation with one of our vice presidents, Elaine Dar, on our recent podcast, All Business, No Boundaries, where we talked about what is it like to be a female leader and what does that, do for you and how does that look and feel. And Elaine was really great to help articulate that as a vice president and as a woman, she sometimes comes at things with maybe a little bit of a different approach or a different kind of question. And for us, innovation is really important, and getting new ideas is really important to us because we're trying to serve our customers in, right now, a very unusual environment. And you got to think about things in lots of different ways. And so we want people with that diversity. So we for sure believe that, bringing more women in will help us to drive to more accurate answers, more innovative solutions for our customers, and help to improve some of our employee engagement overall.
So it sounds like diversity of thought. It looks like we may be 10% short of supply chain talent by 2030. That, supply chain as a discipline is growing, and the research we've been doing says that, it's just critical to get enough workers to be diverse.
Absolutely. I mean, we are for sure in, a talent war, right? We want to get the best and the brightest into to help us, serve our customers and lead our company.
So how do you make work-life balance attractive to women? Because, we've got some different challenges. We bear children. We have some responsibilities for the family that sometimes aren't shared. How do you make DHL attractive?
Well, I mean, it's a great question, and it's a puzzle we work to solve every day. But we have a handful of different programs that we've been working on. We have employee resource groups where we actually get groups of women together in community and sort of talk about what those challenges look like and help to solve for development issues and things like how do you handle that. I've personally had the opportunity to chat with lots of different women across our company about my own story, and which is one of a working mother. I have personally taken maternity leave while working for DHL and what that looks like and what that feels like. So some of what we have done in changing some of our policies and this, maternity policy benefit that we have increased. We've also recently changed our attendance policy in a way to try to be a bit more flexible. So, a good, for instance, on that is, if you need to go to your kid's school for a meeting with a teacher, or you have to go to a dentist, or, you have to do something, but it's only a couple hours. It's not, worthy of maybe a vacation day. We want to just let you work with your supervisor to sort of adjust your schedule a little bit, right? So we're trying to do the kinds of things to give all of our employees a little bit more flexibility so that they can make whatever is happening in their life work and still come to work for us. Because in the war on talent that you're talking about, we have to be a bit more flexible in order to retain our employees. So both of those things that have actually happened at DHL in the last month are really in line with that philosophy.
Well, I'm curious, Meredith, what have you learned? What are the biggest barriers to women feeling fulfilled at DHL?
Sometimes what I hear from them is, and what my own personal story is to some degree, is that women don't always believe that they can do that next thing, right? So I had the honor to have somebody really kind of pushing me along and encouraging me to take on greater roles of responsibility when I felt like maybe, my own kids and my own family, maybe that was where I wanted my priority to be. And without somebody really saying, no, you can do both, and encouraging that, I kind of wasn't sure that that's something I wanted to be able to do. And as I've gone and spoken to women across North America and talked to them and just kind of told them that, they really hear it. They really feel it. Women often don't think that they are ready for that next thing. And until they can check every box on a role profile, they're not ready to jump into it. And so, I know I was hesitant and had the right encouragement and setting up the right kinds of things for me to be successful. And that's what we're trying to in turn do, is help all of our women and really all of our employees to find the way to continue moving their careers forward.
So active mentoring and coaching, is that something that you're working on or evolving?
For sure. Yeah. And development of our employees, bringing them in, again, I mentioned that college recruiting program and bringing people in and really developing them, having that active mentorship and sponsorship, having people, be able to grow the people who work for them is critically important to us. We have regular, programs and processes for development plans and succession planning and those kind of things so that we can, really grow our employees.
And what have you learned about knocking down boundaries and barriers in that process?
Well, certainly the women, at what we're talking about here today, and putting this maternity policy in place has been one great example of something where we got feedback from our employees that said, this is an area that you need to look into, and we worked really hard to kind of make some adjustments to what our policy is going to look like, and we've got great feedback on it from the employees that this is something that they really value and is going to be really important to them as they, think about starting families or continue to have more children, as well as, the idea of retaining them, right? So when you talk about needing to grow that talent gap, you got to bring people in. You have to attract them to the organization, but then you got to keep them, right? And sometimes people, women, when they have children, they don't feel like they can come back to work. It's too much. It's too difficult. And we are trying to bridge that and help them with that from a pay perspective and keeping them whole through the entirety of their leave, which is it's just so exciting and such a big deal for us.
Well, let's get into the details of that, Meredith. When I had my daughter, my boss asked me to be back at work in 2 weeks. And then when I explained to him that wasn't possible, he said, well, if you're not back in 4 weeks, they'll find somebody else for your job. Things have changed a lot. What are you introducing for women at DHL that, helps this situation?
I mean, that's quite a story, Lora. I mean, that's and really difficult, and what we're hopeful that our employees don't, have to face. And, so when I went out on leave personally, I was out for 6 weeks. And received 60% of my pay for 6 weeks. And then the remainder of the time that I was out, an additional 6 weeks, I went completely unpaid, which for, many people, they're unable to plan for or be able to do that. And so people do come back to work sooner than maybe they're even physically ready for. And certainly anybody who's had a 6-week-old knows that, you are sleep deprived and just figuring out what your schedules might be. And the idea of throwing work in there is, really difficult. In fact, I was talking to our vice president of benefits and compensation, and she said that there's a recent SHRM study that 1 in 4 birthing mothers are back to work within 10 days, which, I just found, I was aghast at that number. I couldn't believe it. And so part of that has been why we've been changing that. So, to your question about what are we doing, and it is effective January 1st, and we just announced it last week in combination with the 100-year anniversary of the women's right to vote in the United States, which I do think was, really fantastic and empowering message. But effective January 1st, 2021, our policy is going to provide birthing mothers with an extended disability leave of 12 weeks at 100% of pay beginning at the time of birth. And then adoptive parents are also going to receive 100% of their pay for up to 12 weeks. And, the non-birthing partner will get 1 week of pay at 100%. So each of those things individually is just, in my mind, a huge step forward in the support of the women who are having children and the fathers or partners who support them.
Families come in all shapes and sizes and differences, right? So
that's true.
Yeah. We've got a lot of same-sex couples having children, and, it's just not women, but it's great to see that you're taking these steps forward. How did you go about formulating this policy, and what's the reception been?
Well, the policy, that's part of working through all of our leadership in our company. And, as I understand the story, as we started to look into it and to really hear from our employees and kind of dig into it, it became something that was fairly easily supported at our board level as we had the conversation, because I think, to your point, what the family looks like and the dynamics there are changing. And, we have made these commitments and we are working on growing our female population, and the support of it from our board was, pretty resounding. And so as we've worked, we have to get through all of the technical pieces of how do you work the benefit plan and whatnot. But, our CEO, Scott Soredin, he has been just fantastic as I've had conversations with him about saying, we are doing this. This is important. This is something that we want for our organization.
Well, kudos to you guys. I know it certainly would have been nice. You come off of a cesarean, or you have postpartum depression, or you've got issues with family. Maybe it's, an aging parent. There's just lots of complications, and you're very sleep deprived, and it's hard to manage yourself and get back to work and do the right thing. You always feel very pulled. So, kudos to DHL for doing this. When does it go in effect, and what are your next steps?
Yep. So it's January 1st, 2021. So we did just announce it last week. And on the heels of the announcement, I've gotten many people reaching out, talking about, how great this is, and what about this piece and that piece, and all of the technical questions that everybody automatically has immediately, which, our answer has continued to be, well, there's more to come on those because we need to get all of that detail together. So we're working on all of our communication processes, all of the details. What does it mean if this is your situation or that is your situation, right? So there's a lot of questions that I know our employees have. But it was important to us really that we got the chance to announce it last week, because I think, doing it on that day sort of had this message behind it that was really important. And we've been doing it with a series that it was our first virtual webinar for all of North America. So we invited all of our female exempt population, our male leadership as well. And we had a lot of really great feedback from people on getting involved in that and getting to hear the message all together. So it was exciting, and it was a part of what we're trying to do to continue sort of bringing that conversation together. But I think, next steps continue to be getting through all the details of the rollout. What does it mean if you're pregnant today? What does it mean if you're having a baby? What is it? There's 1,000 scenarios. And we're working through making sure we can communicate all of those pieces to our employees.
Well, and it's great to see a leader take these steps. Kudos to DHL. And, I've been a big advocate for diversity in supply chain. I think we somehow have got to get out of, this rut that we're in. So any words of wisdom for other people that are out there that are thinking about doing something spectacular on the anniversary of women's rights?
Well, I think listening to the employees is what's really important and what has helped us to know what's right for us. So I would say probably for every organization, what the next right step for them may be different than what it is for us. But for us, listening to our employees, knowing what's important to them, and helping them to help us steer the ship in the right direction is really, what I would probably recommend to anyone, because that has certainly been how we've helped to develop it. And how we continue to always, try to make a better environment for our employees.
Well, Meredith, I welcome you back to the podcast, maybe 6-7 months after you roll it out. And I appreciate DHL taking the steps here for helping women. I know that, women in supply chain take it very seriously. They want to do a good job, but we're very short of supply chain talent. But it's just really hard to have a baby and come back to work. And so, I give you kudos for, taking the step.
Thank you. Well, we'd certainly love to come back and talk about what I can only imagine is going to be, a successful program. And I know we're going to hear a lot of really positive things and, the other things that we continue to do, because I think you're right. It's going to take all of us together to try to continue to move toward getting the right balance in the supply chain industry, because I think it is, a field that I often sort of say, I don't think that little girls dream about working in a warehouse because they don't know about it, right? But it can be a great career. And so helping them to see that and to do the things to set it up to make it an environment that women are interested in, I think is, at least for me, what I'm passionate about trying to help us drive and help us do in the future.
Well, and I'm glad you are. Meredith, until next time, let's keep the conversation going.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Lora.
Okay, bye now.